ladies and gentlemen, this is JudgeSpektre. Now, I recently did a project on Knights of the Old Republic 2, and in that video, I talked briefly about morality choices. I've decided to go a little bit more in depth and talk about Bioware, the makers of Knights of the Old Republic, and their handling of morality choices in their video games, at least the video games that have been available on the modern consoles that I've had access to. Now, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, 2003 Game of the Year. And one of the things people liked most about it was the morality choices, the fact that you could actually choose to be sort of the bad guy instead of the traditional hero. Ironically, this is one of the things that I liked the least in Knights of the Old Republic. Not really the fact that they included morality choices, just the fact that the morality choices were so bland and generic. In what way do you mean? Basically, to be a Sith in Knights of the Old Republic is to be a petty thug who beats people up just for the sake of saying that they are evil, with very little other motivation beyond that. It would be different if there had actually been an emotional event that may have actually stirred up feelings in your player character that would possibly have motivated that person to go to the dark place and commit the dark deeds. But there just never really was any moments like that. And likewise, being a good guy was just being ridiculously good. I mean, really, in the options menu, when you look at your character's alignment, at the very top of it, instead of saying light and at the very bottom saying dark, at the very top it should have said Super Jesus, and at the very bottom it should have said Total Douche, because that's pretty much what it boils down to. And it also kind of gets me thinking. When I watched the prequel trilogy on DVD, I did so with the director's commentary on, to sort of see if I could get a glimpse into the mindset of George Lucas, to see what he might have been thinking while he was butchering Star Wars. And during Revenge of the Sith, in one of the rare moments when he actually says something that's slightly interesting, he stated that villains don't really view themselves as villains. They view themselves as sort of good guys. They think that they're doing good, and he described the Emperor Palpatine that way, that he thought that he was doing good by restoring order to the galaxy. And so with that, would it be possible to look at an evil player character in Knights of the Old Republic and say that while that character was making these horrible decisions, he actually thought that he was doing good? No, that really wouldn't be possible, because being bad in this game just had no sort of depth whatsoever. Being the ultimate Sith warrior translates to being a glorified street thug with force powers and a lightsaber. Somehow that's not very interesting. Now, a lot of people could probably try to shoot down everything I've just said by saying that for a first effort, it was a good try. And to that I have to say, with all due respect to Bioware, no, it was not a good first try. It was bland and it was generic. And I did not feel this way just recently. I felt the exact same way when playing this game for the very first time. And with Bioware's next project, Jade Empire, things didn't get much better. Notice I used the term much because it did improve slightly. In this game, the good and evil have been sort of transformed into philosophies of the way of the open palm representing good and the way of the closed fist supposedly representing evil. The way of the closed palm is sort of try to achieve balance in all things, and the way of the closed fist is sort of self-reliance, wanting others to display their will to survive and not wait around for people to save them. Basically to be strong in all things. This sounds good, but in truth, it was once again poorly implemented and was only utilized correctly on one or two occasions in the entire game. Granted, they did get it right here and there, but those moments were few and far in between. Overall, being bad once again just revolved around being a complete jerk for very little reason other than the fact that you want to be a jerk. It wouldn't be until Mass Effect was released that Bioware would actually handle morality choices in a much better way. In Mass Effect, without going into too much detail, there are several different choices that you can make in morality, and there's good reasons to pick each choice. It's not just mindlessly being good or evil. There's actually thought behind it. And it gets me thinking that if they had had this kind of a concept back when they were making Knights of the Old Republic and were able to implement morality choices in the way that they handled Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic, makes me wonder how much more of a memorable experience would that game have been. Now, despite the negative things I've just said about Bioware and Knights of the Old Republic, Bioware is still one of my favorite developers, and they make incredible video games. And Knights of the Old Republic is still one of my favorite games of all time, and that's not going to change. And with each passing year, I still hold out hope that we'll eventually get our true sequel, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 3. Hey, there's nothing wrong with dreaming, is there?